With just 8 races left in 2024's Formula 1 season, both championships are still wide open. There is a 3-team race in the Constructors' Championship, and in the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen is desperately trying to cling on to first place, with Lando Norris quickly closing the gap. As Verstappen's title lead has started to shrink, Norris's title credentials have been questioned following some bad first-lap performances and inter-team battles. Lando fans have been desperate for McLaren to help him out and asked Piastri to play the team game. The team have held off on making a decision as long as possible due to the huge points gap between Norris and a championship title, but they have finally made the call. Today, I'll check out McLaren's decision on team orders between their drivers and what it could mean for the championship, so don't go anywhere. Formula 1 returns to Baku this weekend for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Couple of surprising facts for you. Sergio Perez is the only driver to win the race more than once, and his 5 podium finishes are more than Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen have combined. They've only managed 4 podiums between them. Also, Valtteri Bottas holds the speed record at the track with a top speed of 366.1 km an hour or 227.5 miles an hour. He set that speed in a Williams in 2016 as well. Baku is a race where you never quite know what's going to happen. In 2021, tyre blowouts for Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll ended both their races. Then Hamilton failed to capitalise on what would have been a crucial 25 points in the Drivers' Championship by going straight on at the restart following Verstappen's retirement. In 2018, Daniel Ricciardo rear-ended his teammate Verstappen to take both of them out of the race. It is a circuit where madness can and will happen, and if Sergio Perez can continue his unbelievable form at the track, then he could be decisive in the title battle. Despite the intensifying title fight between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, the two flew together to Baku in the lead-up to the race. With 8 race weekends to go, Norris is attempting to close a 62-point gap to the Red Bull driver in the drivers' standings. However, in the Constructors' Championship, McLaren have the chance to overtake the Austrians as the gap between the two teams only stands at 8 points. That gap in the Drivers' Championship is surprisingly large considering what's been happening on track. Norris has appeared to have the beating of Verstappen for at least the last 6 races, as Red Bull have repeatedly failed to make an impact with their upgrades. His lap 1 performances have been a huge issue, and after 5 pole position starts this year, he's yet to finish the first lap in first position. Nonetheless, the gap to Verstappen has been closing. As F1 headed to the summer break, Lando was 78 points behind his title rival. That deficit seemed unassailable. Lando had only finished ahead of Max once in the 6 races leading up to the summer break. In the 2 races since Spa, though, he's taken 8 points a race out of Verstappen's lead. If he can continue at that rate, then he'll win the driver's title by 2 points, and that isn't including sprint races. Relying on Lando to repeat his 8 points per race gain for another 8 races is a risk, though. After Oscar Piastri took the lead off Lando Norris at Monza and then finished ahead of him in the race, many in the F1 world asked why McLaren hadn't deployed team orders and asked the two to switch positions to gain Norris an extra 3 points in his title chase. It was revealed that it wasn't something the team had agreed on prior to the race, and that they didn't really think a driver's title challenge was on for Lando. After Monza, though, they said they would have the discussion over team orders internally, and it seems they've finally come to a decision. McLaren have announced that they are to prioritise Lando Norris over teammate Oscar Piastri in their bid to win both Formula 1 World Championships this year. There are caveats, though. Team principal Andrea Stella said any actions taken to back Norris in the driver's title chase would happen only within the team principles of sportsmanship and fairness. Stella told BBC Sport, "The overall concept is we are incredibly determined to win, but we want to win in the right way." In the exclusive interview, he went on to explain what that would mean on track. "We will bias our support to Lando, but we want to do it without too much compromise on our principles. Our principles are that the team interest always comes first. Sportsmanship for us is important in the overall way we go racing, and then we want to be fair to both drivers." Well, maybe he didn't completely explain it then. Cleverly, the McLaren team principal has left their decision to back Norris a little grey. The team hasn't given a black and white definition of what they'll do. They haven't categorically said that in the future they will switch positions to favour Lando late in the race, as many said they should have at Monza. After that race, the team did have a series of meetings to try and come to an internal agreement over what they would do and how they would race. Such an agreement had existed prior to Monza, with the mysterious papaya rules of racing being called mid-race. The team also asked Norris to give the win to Oscar at the Hungarian Grand Prix, after a pre-race agreement said that whoever led at the first pit stop would get the win if the team had to compromise the leader's strategy to help the car behind. That happened when they allowed Norris to undercut Piastri to help Lando defend against third-place Lewis Hamilton. Andrea Stella did talk about Monza though, and how the rules which are now in place would have affected the outcome of the race. In Monza, Norris and Piastri qualified first and second, but the Australian overtook the Briton on the first lap, and the incident led to Ferrari's Charles Leclerc getting between the two McLarens. Leclerc went on to win the race from Piastri and Norris. Verstappen finished an uncompetitive 6th. Stella said, "What we don't want to see anymore is a situation like in Monza, in which we enter a chicane P1, P2 and we exit P1, P3, because that is a detriment to the team. The team's interests come first, and these are the situations that above all we need to fix, because eventually, as a matter of fact, the way we entered the race in Monza left the door open to this situation. After Monza, 3 objectives. We need to make sure that anything that happens on track is not to the detriment of the team. Second objective, how do we win both championships? Both drivers committed to help. But what we don't want to do is win in a reckless way. Those are the 3 topics, and they define the way we go racing in Baku. This will be updated after Baku." So while the rules will be reviewed on a race-by-race situation, in Baku, McLaren and Oscar Piastri will help Lando if it's sensible to do so. Getting Oscar on board with this will have been the most difficult thing for McLaren. Every F1 driver is desperate to beat their teammate. They are the only driver on the grid with the same machinery. If you can beat your teammate, then you did so on pure skill, not due to some mechanical advantage. Oscar is the most promising young driver in F1 at the moment, and he wouldn't accept being told he was the team's number 2. But having had sit-down meetings with the team, he has now agreed to assist Norris where possible for the remainder of the season. Stella said both McLaren drivers had bought into the shift in philosophy. "The conversations have been very collaborative," he said. "Even when I said to Oscar, would you be available to give up a victory, he said, it's painful, but if it's the right thing to do now, I will do it. Every driver is hardwired to go for a victory, so I'm always very impressed by the level of team spirit and maturity and collaboration that we found in this period." Piastri is a driver who seems mature beyond his experience. It is so easy to forget that he's just in his 2nd season in the sport, and he's already challenging his 6th-season veteran teammate. Oscar is on course to be a future champion, and his decision to help Lando gives great credit to him. Stella refused to give details of the sort of choices that might be made in Norris's favour, but said decisions would be made on an ad hoc basis as to whether any interference between the 2 drivers was worthwhile. And he emphasised that Norris was on board with the idea of not going all out in acting in his favour in every way. "Lando wants to win because he deserved the victory on track," Stella said. "It's okay to be occasionally supported by your teammate, but you don't want to use, systematically, ways of adjusting the race just for the sake of the points when your teammate is scoring in a way that he deserves. This is not the way McLaren want to win or the way Lando wants to win." It will be fascinating to see what this new agreement looks like on track. In a perfect world, McLaren will never have to use team orders, and Lando Norris can win the championship with just his own racing talent. But perhaps in Baku, we'll see the new papaya rules in action. Are you happy with McLaren's decision, or do you think they should go further than this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to know more about why using team orders like this isn't an easy decision for McLaren, then check out the video that is on the screen now. I'll see you there.